Right. Field train and leader development. That's what today's subject matter is. So bear with me. I'm almost to you guys. Just making sure we're on YouTube, and we are. Okay. All right, guys, gals. Hopefully you had a great weekend. David Rutz here, David Allen Capital. My pleasure to be with all of you. Let me make sure we're in speaker mode. We are. Beautiful. All right. Want to get right down to business. What a great week. Doing funding last week, helping the Bank Breezy team talk to a lot of your clients. Just literally hung up with one 3 minutes ago who's accepting an offer. Um, and a lot of fun talking to businesses. That's the joy of this. And it's also a joy to talk to our brokers. So, keeping in mind, team, as we talked about Friday, if you're on Friday, we talked about lead with the core rate product. It is critical to lead with that product. That is your bread and butter. That doesn't mean you can't throw some spices on, called our select rate or our instant funding. Those are great products, but leadership, this is the leadership locker room where we're going to talk about what plays. We're in the huddle, basically. A quarterback goes to the huddle and says, okay, we're going to run a this, that, this, ready, break. And everyone breaks and they go and run the play and they come back and assess. And they run a different play based on how that last play went, right? And based on what the defense is going. Now, when a quarterback goes to the line of scrimmage where they snap the ball, now they have what's called audibles, right? When I was playing as a kid, we didn't have audibles. You called the play, you ran the play. And but now the kids are learning early how to read defenses and say, okay, well, if it's this defense, we're going to run this play. And if it's this defense, we're going to run this play. And if they're showing that defense, we're going to fake a play for a minute pre-snap just to see if they change their defense. And I mean, there's all this strategy going on before you snap a ball. Fortunately, we don't have to do that. We don't have a defense we got to play against. We're not playing against anybody. You have no defense trying to stop your team. None. No defense at all trying to stop your team. Doesn't exist. You just have to run the play. Right now, we have learned by running plays, some plays are more advantageous for you to run. And if we lead with instant funding, that is not a good play to run for the average broker because you're going to have to talk to thousands of businesses to get hundreds approved to get dozens who take the offer. Okay. Where with larger core rate product, for every 40 businesses you talk to, you have an application. 80% get approved, 80% get accepted. So all of a sudden, every 80 conversations is like 1.5 fundings. Every 100 conversations is 2 fundings. And you start going, huh? So if I have 200 conversations, I'll have 4 fundings. Yeah. It starts to work that way where you go, well, that's a lot of conversations. Not really. Not really when you think about it. In those conversations, those seeds are planted for time. And if you think you can make a $2,000 commission by talking to 40, just by having 40 conversations somewhere else, then go do it. Find it and do it. To have 40 conversations and make $2,000, that's $50 a conversation. Just to say, hey, have you heard of business funding and we can help get you funding when the bank can't? And what type of business do you have? Oh, that's great. Next call, $50. I mean, if you, for every 40 conversations, you can get a funding, that's pretty spectacular, right? So it's highly lucrative for people who run the play. Some people, though, want to keep running the instant funding play. And they have a lot of questions about Giggle. And they spend a lot of time trying to take care of a customer on a Giggle instant funding where they're not built for customer service. It's an online instant funder. Their customer service is on screen and they can call an 800 number, but calling you, you can't find much out for them. Same thing with our flex funding, our lower qualifying funding. That client I just helped get funding is taking $8,000. I spent 20 minutes on the phone with them just now myself, plus our team spent all that. And we're willing to do that because that $8,000 client could become an 80 a year from now, 2 years from now, right? We're willing to do that. But they applied and they're doing over 15,000 a month, but they've got some other challenges. They got a 15,000 an offer and an $8,000 offer. So my discussion with them is which one they should go with. They went with the 8,000, which is what I encouraged them. based on the provider and what they're looking for. And you go, why wouldn't you tell them 15? Because they don't need 15 right now. And if they took 15, they're going to have to pay back 22 because it was a high risk deal. And why pay that on that extra 7 grand? Why pay 50% on that extra seven if you're not going to use it? Just take the 8 now, and in a month from now, you can get more if you need it, right? Because it was a short-term deal. So, but those conversations take some time. That's what our Bank Breezy team does. They have those timely conversations with your client. Now, that same conversation is an $800,000 funding, same amount of time as an eight. In fact, the bigger the client, the less time you spend on the phone because they already come in, they know what they want, they know what they need, they know what they're going to do with the money. They're not coming to get 8,000. They're coming to get 800 or 400 because they already have done the legwork on what it's going to take. You don't just take 100 grand and pay 1,000 for it. Do you want, if I give you 100 grand tomorrow, but I charge you 20% interest, you got to pay back 120. Would you take it? You go, well, it depends. Do I have a use for it? Because it'd be silly to take 100. If you offer me 100 grand right now at 10%, I don't want it. Thanks. It'd be silly for me to take it just to pay 10% for why? I have no need for it. Right. So, but bigger businesses come in, they know. So what we're talking about in this leadership Zoom is the play. You don't have a defense you have to run against. We don't have to run audibles, but we're leaning more. We want you all to lean your team more to the core rate product. A lot of the players out there, the brokers in DAC are leading with 15,000, 4 months in business. Those are our minimum requirements, but why not lead with 3,000 then in 4 months of business and just tell them the giggle requirements? Because that wouldn't be smart for your business. That's good if you're talking to a DoorDash driver, but it's not good if you're going out there and leading with my business is, right? Um, in the NFL, they have plays where they throw it to the linemen. Those are nice to run once in a while, but they got to be once every 6 games or once a year, not every play, right? You want to go with where you're going to have the most success. The most success you're going to have is leading with our core rate product, and that is 2 years in business. 2 years in business, 15,685 FICO. Now, we still have flex rate. I'm not saying we don't, but teach your team to lead with the core. Why? You're going to three reasons. Number one, you're going to attract a better broker. You know how many brokers won't market funding that costs more than 1.3 times? They'll say it just costs too much. I wouldn't do that. They don't recognize that there's a lot of times it's still a good application, even at paying 30 to 40% of what you got. There's still good applications because you're going to turn that 100 into 400,000. You don't mind paying 130 or 140 back. But there's some good brokers who won't join a company if you're leading with 1.4, 1.5 times. Oh, you only got to be in business 4 months. That just sounds like a payday loan company. Yeah, we can help someone who's only been in business 4 months. We just got someone funding Friday who's only been in business 5.5 months, but they're paying 50%. Is that the right money for them? I had the conversation. It happened to be. They have a good use, but it's not, they're not going to get it cheap. They're so high risk, they're probably going to go out of business. Odds are they're going to go out of business. That's what the lender knows. Now, we don't hope for that, but 50% of businesses do fail in the first 2 years. So they're not expecting it to get paid back. They're hoping it will. So they're taking a big risk, right? So I'm saying this because I see our Facebook page. It's still leaning toward our select rate. I see the posts people are posting online. Select rate. Quit leading with that. Teach your team to quit leading with it. I think all of you aren't. Teach your team to lead with the core rate product. How do you lead with the core rate? You talk about it. You mention it. You share it. You talk about pricing that's 1.15 to 1.25 instead of a 1.15 to 1.5. Just lead with the qualifications. 2 years in business, 685 FICO. Just lead with it. Now, if someone says, can you help others? Absolutely, we can help. You see my ads, I'll say this, the core rate. And we do have, for people who don't qualify, you may qualify for our more flexible product called Flex Rate. And so you've told them, but you've led with. And so that's the play we're running. So that's what I want to talk about. Number one is when we break this huddle today, make sure we're leading with core rate. Number two, field train. Field train is the critical thing for non-pro B2B. You've got a lot of brokers who are joining. They've never called on businesses. They need field training. They want the comfort of you helping them. If they're a B2B pro, they don't need it. In fact, they'll be discouraged if you keep trying to hold their hand. That you'll actually turn them off because they're not looking for a boss. So it's not your job to tell them their plan. It's your job to offer one if they need one, but it's to extend a courtesy. You know, in the Bible, there's a guy by the name of Barnabas, and Barnabas, when Saul, who was all about persecuting Christians, um, he didn't believe Christ was real, so he was arresting and having Christians killed. And then he meets Christ himself, and he becomes Paul. He's converted to Paul. He has the road to Damascus. You've probably heard of it. Believe it or not, just take it as a story then. But he becomes saved and he starts telling everyone Jesus is real. And the Christians don't necessarily believe that he means it. Are you just saying that because you're trying to get us all to be friendly and you're going to come arrest us and kill us all? But there's one guy by the name of Barnabas who goes out and he's his ally. He's an encourager. And Barnabas later encourages Mark. And Barnabas isn't known as a super leader. There's no books written by him in the Bible, but he was the great encourager. He encouraged Paul. He got Paul in with the apostles and said, "No, it's real." He did the same thing with Mark later after Paul wanted him to, kind of stay home from a tour. And Mark ends up writing a book, a gospel in the Bible, because of Barnabas's encouragement. And so all that is to say, we don't think that our encouragement matters. Sometimes it's just a conversation. Sometimes it's just you getting someone on your team on the phone with me or Wade. That's all it takes. Sometimes just taking an interest and saying, "Hey, I'd love you're really a go-getter. I'd love you to meet Ellen. I'd love you to meet Nick. I'd love you to meet McGuire. I'd love you to meet Wade. I'd love you to meet you're really a go-getter. I want you to get to know some of the team here. Let's get you on the phone with Morgan and support. I want you to have you met David's mother, Sharon? I want to introduce you to Sharon. Just go out of your way to be an encourager. Sometimes that's all it takes for someone who's new to the space. That's all Mark needed in the Bible. Mark just needed Barnabas to believe in him because he made a mistake and he bailed on one of their tours. But Barnabas agreed and said, "Hey, I agree. I understand. I got your back. Let's go." Some people quit this business and come back later. "Hey, come on in. We welcome you back with open arms. We don't charge a fee. We're not trying to get rid of you. We're trying to be here for you forever. You could renew every year for the rest of your life and turn this business onto your family down the road. We're here forever with you, right?" So be their encourager. So number one was core rate play. Number two, be an encourager for the non-experienced. And number three, and field train them as well. So encourage and field train. And number three, duplicate leaders. That means you got to ask people, do they want to be a leader with us? Do they want to help build a team? And if so, move them down that path. All right. Those are the three plays we want to run this week. Focus on more and more. Got to do a better job of getting the core rate led with. Got to get the field training and the encouragement going at a higher level. And we want to duplicate more leaders. So start looking for those three things as you go out. Of course, we got a great week ahead. Tuesday and Thursday is a biz op nights, broker overview with McGuire on Tuesday, Nick on Thursday. I will not be on any this week. So that's fabulous. They're going to do a great job, both of them. And you want to fill that up, of course. To me, that's game day. How many people you got on Tuesdays? And they should all have people on Thursdays. That's our opportunity for brokers to expand their broker network. For those who want to be leaders, you're all leaders. So you all want to lead a team. So you should be able to put a lot of people on Tuesday nights and make sure your team. There's got a lot there Tuesday nights. LMS, we're close. That's the best I'll say with that. We're close. And until it's live, it's still just close, right? I understand that. But we are going to take about 15 to 20 people and do a test. And so if you want to be a part of that test, I can see here there's about 60 people here. If you want to be part of that test, meaning you go through all the certification, we're not going to put 60 through, but if you want to be one of the people, we're going to have some who don't have any experience with their business and some with a lot of experience because we want we want the experience to replicate a brand new broker. So if you want to be part of that test, please do me a favor in the chat box right now. We'll take a copy of the chat. Just say, yes, put me through the beta. Yes, put me through the beta. I know some of you have already told me, but tell me again here. That way we've got one list. So in the chat, just put yes, 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 yes for the beta. Yes for beta, yes for beta. And if you have any other questions about chat, it's a good time to ask them. All right. So let's see what questions we got about any of the game plan that we called today. Any of the plan we called today. Core rate, encourager, field train. I mean, it's help them make their first calls if they need it. Help them see a few businesses first if they need it. If you go, man, I don't want to do that, then don't say you're a leader, right? Say I'm a recruiter. I'm just a recruiter. I'm going to recruit others and hopefully they can do this without my help. Now, you don't need to be a super enroller. You can recruit experienced people. I don't have to be a good quarterback to recruit good quarterbacks. Okay. But if they want support, you need to give it, or you got to find them someone who can in your team. Jose, you got a question for us. What do you got, Jose?
Okay. Is the core rate the same as the preferred funding?
Well, preferred funding, it's called core rate preferred. So yes, it is, but we're branding it as core rate because we're leading with the pricing 1.15 to 1.25. There is preferred where you can get 100% prepayment discount. You won't get that for 125. So there's a few different preferred products in there, but we're leading with the 1.15 to 1.25 pricing.
Okay. Now, do we have a link for that specifically?
Yeah, it's on your website, Select Fund.
Select funding. Okay, thank you.
It's the preferred. It's the preferred. But more than anything, guys, it's the messaging and it's the culture. We've moved our culture, moved to we can help the ones who are desperate. We can help the people who have small sales. And although we can sometimes, that's not what you want to lead with. You want to lead with the larger 2 years in business. The average is probably 50 to 60,000. I mean, see a lot of $100,000 approvals, $150,000 approvals, and they happen quick. Go ahead, Conrad. How you doing, buddy?
I can't complain, David. I'm doing great.
Good.
I guess my question is a little bit of a follow-up to Jose's. I hear you say, okay, from now on, we're going to lead with core. Okay, so select, then is that considered everything that's under the business funding tab, which is the bank breeze and all that stuff?
No. Select and core are the same. We're just calling it core rate.
Okay.
Core rate is your preferred funding.
Okay, so you said don't lead with something.
Don't lead with the lower funding, the 4 months in business, 15,000 a month, 500 FICO score. Don't lead with the flex rate. That's called flex rate. We're calling them now core rate and flex rate. That's how we're branding them. Core rate is our lead product that we called preferred for a while. We're calling it core rate preferred. Select rate is flex rate. Flex rate, not select rate. Sorry. Core rate and flex rate. Core rate is the lead product. Flex is the one that is for the people that can't qualify for core.
So flex rate is basically what's under the business funding side tab.
You got it.
Thank you, sir.
You got it. And we're going to do some work on both those pages to brand it a little bit differently for that. But it helps when you're recruiting brokers. Our broker overview is leading with our core rate product. Our commissions are obviously lower on that. Keep in mind, we pay a percentage of what we get out to you as brokers. We make less on the core rate product. But to be honest, to be transparent, what I said last Friday is we had a funding offer that was $400,000 at a 1.11. Now, if there's a 1.11 product, can you make 4%? No, of course not. If it's 400,000, the commission to you as a broker would have only been about 1.5%. But 1.5% on 400,000, it gets done. Now they didn't take it. They didn't need that money. They didn't need that much money. But I would never expect to see that again. But I saw it last week, right? And so sometimes we can get pricing. That's why we say 1.15 to 1.25. If you lead with that, But expect if someone gets 1.15, you won't make 4%, of course, because we're not even getting 4%. So you'll get 40% to 80% of what we get, right? So if we only get 4%, then you're going to get 1.6% minimum, right? So it all depends. Bonus revenue is bonus revenue. We put it in. The flex rate, we make more because they're charging a lot more. They won't do it for less. They're going to charge more. They got to charge more to take the risk. Ellen Wynn's got her hand up. How you doing, Ellen?
Hey, David, I'm great. Thank you. Happy Monday on a 4th of July week. Um,
Yes.
okay, so just to be clear for folks that the core rate and flex rate may be a little confusing for, no matter which page of the application we send out or of the website, whether we're leading with core or leading with flex, when someone starts that application and they start answering questions in that application, it's going to send them to the correct funding product, right? So agents don't have to worry about screwing up and sending out the wrong link to their clients. They're all going to get the same application, and the application is intuitively going to separate them and send them to the right product. Is that still correct?
That is correct. That'll always be correct.
Awesome. Thank
Yep.
you.
Now we are improving the pages because we want someone to be able to refer to the page and it speaks the same language we're teaching to speak. So you'll see some improvements to what the web pages say. But yeah, you're absolutely correct. If someone's eligible for core rate, even if they're on the flex rate page, they're going to get core rate pricing. If they're eligible for core rate, we're going to give it to them, but they're going to see qualifications that are lower and some won't apply it there. They'll want to see harder qualifications. I mean, you got someone who's got a 750 FICO score and been in business 5 years and they're doing 400,000 a month. And they go to a website that says, we can get you money when you've been in business 4 months and only a 500 FICO score. You know what they're going to think? This is super high price funding. I don't want to apply here. I've earned my way. So when you lead with that, you're going to find that, and we're going to have pages that talk about both. But you will turn some people off if they see easy qualifications, just like it turns brokers off to see super expensive pricing. So some brokers are turned off by the fact that someone would even market that. They're ignorant to the fact that there's a reason, there's a place for that. I was one of those brokers. I wouldn't market a funding that cost more than 1.3 when I first started. I wouldn't do it. I would say you're declined. Until I had businesses who told me their business, they could double their size if they just had 100 grand and they were willing to pay back 50%. Then I realized there's a reason. There's a time and a place where leverage even is worth 50% cost. Jamel, go ahead, Jamel.
Hey, how you doing today?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm doing fine.
Good.
I talked to Nick. This was Friday on our Friday Zoom call.
Yeah.
I had talked to Nick because I had a client that I actually got approved for funding.
Okay.
We started in the higher end with Pro, and then it ended up being moved to Giggle. The thing is that Giggle did not actually send him the link in one of his emails. So Nick told me that he should email Giggle back for a link or try calling. I ended up using the customer service number, call, text, letting them know, reaching out. Also did the email. However, I talked to the client this morning. He still has not gotten anything back from Giggle.
He's probably been
Is there
declined.
anything on that?
What have you received from Giggle?
I received nothing from Giggle.
Okay. You didn't get anything that says app started.
No, I did get the email that said app started.
Okay.
And
Did you get
when
one that
the
said
client
link banks? Did you
Say
get one
again?
that said he linked his banks?
Yes.
Okay. So you got linked banks. Did you get one
Mhm.
that said approved?
The client got one that said approve. I did not.
Okay. There's a chance the client has never been approved and just doesn't want to say they're declined. Okay, there's a chance of that, which we see, believe it or not, especially if you know them. It's not uncommon for that to be the case. We won't assume it's the case here, but this is exactly what I'm talking about. They do not provide you agent support or us. It's on your client's screen. I don't refer Giggle to people unless they're willing to be computer savvy enough to watch their screen. When you say they didn't get a link, for the first 6 months with Giggle, I would hold them accountable and they'd prove me wrong every time. The link is sent, the text is sent, and it's on their screen 100% of the time. Maybe one out of a 50,000 apps, it's not. But they got a text, they got an email, and it was on their screen. And if they didn't, there's nothing we can do. They can call the 800 number that's in our training. You can give them the number to call the 800 number. And I know this doesn't sound, I'm just talking leadership to leadership. This is a leader call. I know this doesn't sound like I care. The reality is, I don't believe your client because I've called Giggle out 500 times. Not that I don't believe them, I believe they're wrong. They may be telling the truth, but it's in their spam folder. The text that came in, they didn't realize it was them. I'm not sure the reason why, but there's an 800 number in our training you can give them to call. And guess what will happen? Someone will talk to them and solve it. And if they tell you in a day it's still not solved, I would go on the assumption they're probably not approvable and haven't wanted to said they were declined. And because every time we've done Jamal, every time I've gone in to say, hey, this client, I did it with all my own at the beginning. This client said this, they would show me, look, they not only got the text, they opened it. They not only got the email, they clicked on the link. So they would verify these things to show me. So we now at this point, we do not do any broker support for Giggle. None. If you want to use Giggle, then you will not have agent or customer support, except a toll-free number you can give them to call. That is the training says. You can call Giggle. They're not going to be doing broker support. So all I can say to everyone watching this, don't market Giggle unless you're willing to just give a toll-free number to your clients to call if they have a hang-up, because it's all instant. They should have no problem getting through, but they do. And there's nothing Giggle's going to do because they get 50,000 applications and they're making $50 a piece, and they're paying us a good percentage of what they make. And so they just can't support it. It's unfortunate. It's like a credit card application. So I would just encourage you again, give that toll-free number to your client, say, call them. That's all I can recommend. And if they go, that's ridiculous, they didn't, just say, I agree. I agree it's ridiculous, but it's an instant funding thing. And this is all they can do is you can call them. That's all I can say. Because we don't have any agent support with them. And it sucks. It sucks, but it doesn't suck. Because without it, we can't do instant funding. If you want broker support, now we got to charge the client a lot more. And now you got to have a lot higher qualification. So it's just the nature of the beast.
Okay.
All right. So get that toll-free number, give it to your client, tell them to call them. But my belief is they didn't get approved because Giggle would be calling them every day if they did and texting them, hey, do you want your offer? Do you want your offer? Do you want your offer? But they won't text them if they say, sorry, you're declined. They say, sorry, you're declined, and they move on. And if they're not getting hit over and over and you're not getting anything that says contract signed, approved offer, then it's probably declined. So sorry that's the answer, but that's the same answer we give on the training. Call the toll-free number. That's all you can do. But this is why we don't lead with it, because even if they get funded, you'll make $30. And how many times did you have to go back and forth with Nick, me, Giggle, all this stuff? You want to help them, I get it. This is how I tell people about Giggle. Hey, we've got this instant funder. I mean, it's great. It's all online. I mean, there's you could apply online and get funding, the same night. You could have money in your bank tonight. Generally about 20% of what you're doing in monthly sales. So if you're doing 5,000, maybe you can get $1,000. I don't know. So if that can help you, go ahead and apply. It's all online though. I can't help you. I don't see anything. You'll have toll-free numbers right on your screen. You can do everything. And it's that simple. If they call me, hey, I applied. Hey, what's that? Did you call that toll-free number? No, I didn't see. I'll text it to you. Just call that number. There's nothing I can do to help you with it. We refer you off to them, and it's all instant. So it should be on your screen. So I'll send you that toll-free number, and you can call. And I text them the number. It's in my phone under Giggle customer service. And it's not agent, it's not broker support. You send them off the number and leave it be. Now they're a great company, but you've got thousands of people who apply, and a lot just never link their bank account because they don't know their login and password or their credentials. So I don't want to talk about Giggle any further. Thanks for bringing it up. Gave me an opportunity to discuss the reality of this. This is what we deal with in Giggle. And it's not because of Giggle. It's because the customer isn't paying attention to their screen. That's what they've proved that to me the first 40, 50 times. So give them the toll-free number. And the same thing, flex funding. I probably submitted 30, no, let's just say 20 fundings last week for 15,000 or under that I spent at least a half hour on each one of them. And half of them don't even respond to the offer. They're not looking for 15 grand at 1.4. They're not looking for that, but that's all they're eligible for. So this is not a discouragement. This is hopefully an encouragement to you that we're not going to run the 32 dive up the middle because their defensive line is stopping us. We're not going to run the flex funding. You only got to be in business 4 months and 15,000 because half the people aren't going to take the offer they get. And 40% aren't going to be approved. And so of the 60% that are approved, only 30% are going to take the offer. And then when they do, they're only going to get 10 grand and you're going to make $300, $400. So that's not our focus. It can't be our focus. For your benefit, you want to lead with the 2 years in business and then let flex rate support them. Just don't lead with it. Just like Instant Giggle, help them, but don't lead with it. Any other questions or comments from anybody? Okay, let's rock and roll. Let's run the 3 plays. Core rate, lead with it. Flex rate, fall down to. The field train and encourager, be an encourager. Reach out to everyone in your team and encourage them. Encourage the next step for them. What's their next step? Don't know what it is. Depends on where they are. Encourage that next step. And then get after the team trainings tomorrow night, the biz op or the broker overview, and then field train as well. God bless you all. Have a great day, everybody. Appreciate you all. And I'll be looking at all the demo requests for the beta. I see quite a few comments there, so hopefully we've got a screenshot sheet on that. Okay. I see it all good. Bye, everybody. I'm going to keep looking at the comments for a minute, but you can all go. Good stuff. Good stuff. Good stuff.